For today's Meta Monday, we're diving into Charizard Pidgeot, also known as Pidgeysard. And trust me, this deck is a strong and solid meta deck in the current format. And in this video, I'll break down the full list, the core strategy, and show you some of the ranked matches I played so you can see just how powerful this deck truly is. Now, and here's the list that I've been testing. The game plan is simple but strong. You get to Charizard and quickly finish the game using Charizard. Now, and the core cards are Charizard EX himself. It powers itself up with its Infernal Rain ability, then does massive damage that scales the later that the game goes on. And then you also have Pidgeot EX with its quick search ability, letting us search out whatever card we need when we need it. And of course, we can't stop without talking about the Dusknoir line in the deck as well. It has huge synergy with Charizard, allowing you to do more damage with Zard, and makes it easier to one-shot other Stage 2 Pokemon at the same time. Together, these give the deck an edge against other meta decks like Gardevoir and Goldango, and is definitely a deck that I would highly recommend that you guys give a try. Now, before we get to the games, hit that like button, and subscribe for more Meta Mondays, Rogue Thursdays, and my 1 month 1 deck series every Saturday. Alright, so game number 1, we see a Pidgey on the opposing side, so we know that it's some sort of Pidgeot style variant of a deck. And here we set up decently. We're just going to set up double Charmander, that way then we can go into a Charmeleon next turn, and then be able to go into a Charizard the turn after. So it's not the best hand, it's pretty slow, but luckily we were able to start with a Dusclops, so if anything's going to get knocked out, they're most likely going to knock that out. So here we see that it's actually a Greninja deck. So they are just going to go into the Cleffa. They will be able to draw one card right now unless they play a couple more. All they've played is the Air Balloon and the Cleffa. Here they do just draw that one and pass, so we are just going to put down the Charmeleon. We're going to use Artazon again. This time we can grab down another Duskull because we know that we are going to need that later on in order to be able to knock out a Greninja, because Greninja has over 300 HP as well. So in early game, you really need to prioritize getting down like a Duskull and putting it into a Dusclops if you're playing against these Stage 2 decks, because that's going to be the only way that you can one-shot in the early game. Here, we just pass the turn after that, and they get down another of the little Froakies. And then they have the Arven, so here they could be getting a Rare Candy and then getting into a Pidgeot, and then if they already have a Greninja, then they could just search out a second Rare Candy and be able to get both of their Stage 2 up and online this turn. Instead, they do get the Pidgeot down, and then they get the Frogadier down on one of the Greninja, the one that they didn't bring out this turn. And that now means that we don't have to worry about a Greninja this turn, but we will have to worry about one next turn if we didn't already have this boss. So our hand is at least decent enough that we will be able to get rid of that Frogadier next turn. And it's going to cost us the Mist Energy, but that's completely fine here. So they do play down the Jamming Tower, so their Air Balloon's not working anymore, but they don't really need the Air Balloon. They already have free retreat. So we're going to start off by playing this Charizard EX. We are going to grab all 3 energy because we have enough in our deck to get one more Charizard EX powered up, and that allows us to retreat the Duskull and be able to use a boss and knock out that Frogadier. We also top decked a second boss's orders, which is huge because that means that we can actually focus down that other Froakie next turn and be able to make sure that they are way behind in setting up their attackers, allowing us to be able to try to two-shot this Pidgeot. Here we see their A-Spec. They're actually playing Grand Tree, and we are completely fine with this. So with them playing Grand Tree, if they actually don't remove it this turn, then we can go and put one of our Dusclops or Duskulls into a Dusknoir and be able to one-shot their Greninja, and that would be insane value for us from their own A-Spec. But it looks like they're setting up their turn to be able to knock out most likely a Charmander and then get rid of their Stadium at the same time, since they already got value out of it. And that's exactly what they do. So that did cost them to take a prize, so our damage is now 210. We also top deck that Nest Ball, so we're able to draw 3 by getting Fez down. And then here, our hand is okay at this point. We do have another Charmeleon. We could Arven here, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to get down put in our hand Ultra Ball plus Maximum Belt. And there's a couple different lines that we can do. So we can clear this Pidgeot this turn. And the way that we do it is with Ultra Ball. We get rid of the Chi-Yu plus the counter catcher. We get the Dusclops. So that is going to allow us to be able to put 50 damage down on this Pidgeot and notably give our opponent 1 prize. But we're going to be able to take 2 prizes for this trade because now our Charizard does 240 damage, which is just enough to be able to knock out that Pidgeot by doing 10 more than what it has as HP at that point. The reason why we do that is to get rid of their quick search and force them to have a energy in order to attack. And they need specifically a water energy, so they need like an earthen vessel or something to search it out. But as you can see, our opponent doesn't have that, and they do end up scooping. Alright, so game number 2 is we see 2 Dreepies and a Victini, so this is the Dreepy, or the Dusclops version of Typhlosion. That card that we just top decked for this turn is going to be huge in this matchup if you're ever playing in this matchup with this deck. Briar allows it so that way then, if your opponent has exactly 2 prize cards, and you attack with a Terra type Pokemon, you take an extra prize card when you knock something out that turn. So that's going to be a way to turn one of their regular Typhlosions into a 2 prizer to end the game. The issue is that we have to get our whole spiel up and online as fast as possible, otherwise we are going to be on the back end. So here we do get to do the TM Evo play, so we are being as fast as possible. We have a Ultra Ball in hand. We will most likely from this hand have to discard the counter catcher and the Dusknoir in order to search out a Pidgeot, get the Pidgeot down. That'll search out our Charizard, and then we can get the Charizard down as well. Here though, they are just setting up multiple Quillavas right now, and that's generally the game plan of the Typhlosion deck, is setting up at least 2 to 3 of them on your second turn. That way you don't have to worry about your opponent just bossing up 1 and clearing it and you being behind for a while. Here, they're also playing the Earthen Vessel too, so they are able to get a Fire Energy and get a Ethan's Adventure into the discard without using it. And this allows them to TM Evo a Dusclops and a Quilava. So now we know that we're going to have to fight at least 3 Typhlosion, and we could find a way to get rid of one of the Quilava this turn, but we would rather just take the loss of not being able to do that, just completely set up this turn, make sure that we have everything that we need. So here we're just looking through our deck, seeing exactly what is prized, what is not. We have enough rare candies for later on. We have enough energy in our deck right now too. So we are just going for that Pidgeot Charizard play. This is going to allow us to be able to get enough energy to attack. We don't grab 3 here because we only need 2, and we don't want them to just boss up the Charmander that we would put an energy on, and then we just basically lose a Charmander and an energy all at once. We'd rather than be focusing on trying to get rid of our Charizard EX in the active. So here we do take the first prize of the game, and we do have a Fez in our hand, but we don't really want to play it in this matchup. It's just a free 2 prizer that our opponent can focus down with a boss or a counter catcher, and at that point we will be in a very tough position because that's just free 2 prizes for them. Instead, we want them to focus on getting rid of our Charizards as much as possible, and then focus on getting rid of like our Charmanders or maybe our Pidgeot if they're going to focus anything as a secondary. The whole reason for that is that if we can keep a Charizard going at all times, then that's how you win this matchup. Here, they are just doing a whole bunch of quick searches. They have set up for a Typhlosion play this turn, and they aren't going to be able to do enough damage to one-shot right now, but they will be able to two-shot. So here, they are just Ultra Balling away some more Ethan's Adventures, and they do a whopping 220 damage for a single energy. So we top deck a Night Stretcher. We don't really want to use that right now. So here we are just going to go Arven plus Air Balloon. So the reason why we grab Arven and Air Balloon is because we're going to set up another Charizard this turn. And we have the Air Balloon that we can put on the Tatsugiri, so that way the next turn we can actually search out or try to find another supporter. Specifically, if we can find a Turo, that would be very helpful for us. And here we are just going to attack with Charizard. We could have Arven that turn and at least get down a Duskull or get down another Charmander. That way then we had that set up in case we do need to use this Arven to set up a third Charizard right away. But at the same time, it wasn't that necessary, but that is kind of a misplay on our part. Though I will say that the Dusknoir is not as handy in this matchup. It is really good. It trades 1-for-1, but it only trades 1-for-1 on the Dusclops. It doesn't really trade 1-for-1 with a Typhlosion. It can clear a Victini too, so that is something that you can think about doing as well, because Victini is kind of like their extra way of trying to one-shot a stage 2. So here they do just clear out that Charizard. They take 2 prizes. They are on the track of being able to just go 2 prize, 2 prize, 2 prize, and we want them to be on that track. Here we are just going to quick search. We get the Super Rod. This is going to allow us to be able to put back a Charmander, a Charizard, and an Energy, because we already have a Energy left in deck. So now we can get this Charmander down. So next turn, we will be able to go into another Charizard EX and be able to swing with that. The only worry that we really have at this point is if they have double Victini later on, because they could go double Victini plus a tool like either the Brave Bangle or something like that, and be able to one-shot our Charizard. They also could have like Gravity Mountain plus double Victini, and that would also one-shot our Charizard. So those are the kind of things that you do have to worry about in this matchup, and you're just basically hoping that your opponent doesn't see it. So here they are just going to use Arven as their supporter. We see that they are getting that tool, and they also get a Super Rod too. So they're able to put back a Victini, and now they're going to be able to search it out with this Buddy-Buddy Poffin. So now they have the double Victini plus the tool, so they are going to be able to one-shot this Charizard EX, dealing exactly enough damage. And at that point, we are kind of in a very bad position, because this turn we could Briar, but we're only taking 2 prizes, and if our opponent has the answer, then we lose. So the misplay that we made early on by not putting down a Duskull is kind of biting us in the butt, so to speak. So here we are just going to have to Pidgeot, and this is going to allow us to get the Rare Candy, and we will be able to get down a Charizard, so we can swing, and that's pretty much all we have. So a whole host of things kind of win our opponent the game next turn. They could have Boss, and that would win them the game. They could have Gravity Mountain, that would win them the game. And then if they play a second copy of that tool, then that would also win them the game as well. So here we see the Gravity Mountain, and that is game. Alright, so game number 3 is actually kind of a crazy deck, and it's another one that I have on my list that I really want to try. and it's this Baby Iron Thorns deck. So it's more of like just a future box, and then you try to just constantly attack with the Baby Iron Thorns. You are able to set up like other future Pokemon and be able to attack with them as well, because you're having to run so many of them in your deck for the Baby Iron Thorns. And here we are actually having a very good starting hand as well. The big thing here is that this Mist Energy could be very important, so I'm kind of hesitating on putting it down, just so that way then I could do something like a TM Evo next turn or something, but I really don't want to do that. So we're going to keep it so we can go into a Rare Candy Pidgeot and Rare Candy Charizard if we're able to next turn. It depends on what we draw into, but we can at least go Rare Candy Pidgeot and have that set up, or just go Rare Candy Charizard and be able to not go the Pidgeot and clear the Baby Iron Thorns. So it's dependent on what we feel is going to be better in the position. There's a high chance that our Tatsugiri is just going to get knocked out. Here they actually get the Iron Bundle down, so they force us to have to get rid of one of our other two, so we're actually just going to give up the Pidgey. So that makes our next turn a little bit more straightforward. We're just going to go right into the Charizard. So here they also have the Crispin, so they're able to get some energy out and thin their deck a little bit. So notably they get a Psychic to hand, and then I'm pretty sure, yeah, they get a Lightning on to their Miraidon in the back line. That Miraidon can power up one of their other future Pokemon, and here they actually got 2 future Pokemon off of that Iron Thorns attack. And if you haven't played against the Baby Iron Thorns, the way that it works is it reveals the top 5 cards of their deck, and then for each future Pokemon, it does 70 more damage, and then it shuffles all non-future cards back to the bottom of your deck, and then you discard all of the future cards that were revealed. So you will have to play like Super Rods and stuff like that to constantly get them back, so you're running a couple more of those than usual. But it's a really cool concept, and I really like the future Pokemon in general, so it's definitely one that I want to give a try. Here we do get the knockout, and we notably put the Mist Energy on our Charizard, because the Mist Energy will stop a TM Devo from being able to just lose us the game. Alright, so we see a Arven from our opponent, and they will be able to start putting energy down on that Iron Thorns EX, so that is a card that we have to be wary about. It kind of does mess up some of our, or most of our game plan. And the way that it works is, if it's in the active, then all of our Pokemon that aren't future have no abilities. So that means that we can't play down another Charizard and get it powered up. We would actually have to manually find the energy and then power it up. And our Pidgeot, if we were to ever get one of those down, would also not be able to quick search either. So we do have to be wary about that. And it's kind of just sit on this Charizard and hope that we can do enough damage. We do want to get down a Duskull at some point, and that would actually help us, because then we can one-shot this Iron Thorns. Here they do go Nest Ball, and they find another Baby Iron Thorns, so they're going to set that up for next turn. So we know that we are going to have to be worried about that. And here they are also weakening our Charizard by a little bit. It only does 40 damage right now, but at the same time, that can add up and allow them to be able to knock us out. We do find another Charmander, and then we're just going to Iono here. We do give them 2 extra cards to work with, and notably, it gives us more cards that we really need. I'm debating about putting down that Fire Energy, and that is kind of a mistake, is I probably should put it down, just in the off chance that they do promote the Iron Thorns EX. So that way then, if we do go into a Charizard next turn, then we will be able to try to find a energy and have the best shot of being able to do so. Instead, they go into the Baby. They do use the supporter, the code breaker, so they can actually put 2 of their future Pokemon on top. They also got 2 of their Iron Crowns on the field as well to boost up the damage of their Iron Thorns. It boosts it up by 20 for each Iron Crown. So here they do have a shot of being able to one-shot. They whopping 250 damage because they only revealed 3 cards that were future. And now our Charizard is almost dead. But there's a couple things that we could do here, and I'm debating about what the best decision is. Here we're just going Arven for a Ultra Ball plus a TM Evo, so we can discard the TM Evo. I could have Turo'd, and that would have put the Charizard back into my hand, and we would be able to power up the Charizard that we're going into right now. Instead, I decide that I'm just going to do the Arven, do the search, and save the Turo for a later turn in case we need it to stop our opponent from winning the game. So here we're already down to only 3 prize cards remaining, so we're doing really well. And all our opponent has is these EX Pokemon. Notably, the Iron Thorns we don't really have to worry about anymore because we already have a second Charizard set up. So we are sitting very well. In our hand, we do have a boss's orders too, so if we need to, we can boss whatever they play and they try to get powered up. And that will win us the game as well, because they're going to have to power up this Iron Thorns to swing with it this turn in order to attack. But the drawback of its attack is it has to move in energy. So here they get down another future Pokemon, the Iron Valiant, and they play their Ace Spec, which is that reboot pod. So they're able to get a bunch of energy on the field. And notably, they are going to try to buff up the Iron Valiant so they can try to one-shot our Charizard EX to try to win the game. That way then it's much harder for us to get a third one going. Here we're just going to promote the Tatsugiri. It notably is not a EX, so we are able to get a search with it, but we find nothing. We did top deck a Super Rod for turn, so we could put back the energy in a Charizard. So later on, if need be, we can actually go Rare Candy Charizard and be able to have that third attacker. Here we are going to use the boss, get rid of that Iron Valiant, because that's the only thing that we have to be worried about on our opponent's side of the field. And we go down to just a single prize card remaining, but we do more than enough damage now, since they are down to 3 prize cards themselves, that we can easily one-shot anything on their board. So here they get down another Iron Crown, they put down a future booster energy, but they don't have the energy to attack, so they just pass, and we are able to knock out this Iron Thorns EX for game. So overall, Charizard Pidgeot is a strong meta choice right now. It does really well into meta decks like Gardevoir and Goldango, and the only real meta deck that you have to worry about is Noir, which is very popular, so be careful with that. And if you're looking for a deck that's pretty competitive, this is one you'll definitely want to try. And if you enjoyed the breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe for more Meta Mondays, Rogue Thursdays, and our series, the 1 month 1 deck Saturdays. And let me know in the comments, would you play Pidgeysard at your next tournament?